Hey, what's going on, everyone? Michael Falk with Kinetic Sports Medicine Performance. I want to talk today about what's the difference between flexibility and mobility. So these are two words that we'll hear thrown around quite a bit. Sometimes people think that they mean the same thing. Sometimes people think that they mean different things, or are they the same? And the answer is that mobility is a little bit more all-encompassing than flexibility. So when I hear flexibility, what we think of is how long is a specific soft tissue. So when I'm talking about flexibility, we can measure how much hamstring range of motion do you have. We can measure how much quadriceps range of motion do you have. Some of these big muscles we can actually assess, and there's sort of normative ranges of how much that muscle moves, and that's great, but it's a relatively passive measurement. So it's actually something that we will lay you on the table, we will get a goniometer out, which is a device that we use to measure a joint angle, and we'll actually be able to measure the flexibility of a specific muscle group. But that doesn't tell me if you can actually control that range of motion. And that is what mobility starts to get at. And we personally care much more about mobility than we do just pure flexibility. And when I start talking about mobility, I'm talking about how much range of motion of a specific joint or movement can you actively control with good technique. And so it is great if I measure normal hamstring range of motion on the table, but if I stand you up and you can't go down and touch your toes, then that's not that helpful for you, right? So we might need to work on your ability to control the passive range of motion that you have. And it's going to be a different strategy to go after that. Additionally, if we try to take an active movement strategy towards a true soft tissue or flexibility limitation, we're probably not going to have a lot of success because we're trying to solve a passive tissue length problem with active techniques. And so they are related. I would say most of the time we spend more time with clients trying to work on their mobility or their ability to actively control joint ranges of motion in upright weight-bearing positions. So trying to get people into deeper hip angles with a squat, trying to be able to get people to be able to get down to touch their toes, or to be able to control raising their arm overhead without kind of giving way through their core or compensating in other ways. People often would have the ability to do some of those movements just laying on the table, but once we have to get up, support our body weight against gravity or maybe even an external resistance, they're now not able to move through as full of a range of motion without compensating. And so that is really then where we'll start to get into why does that happen, and there's different tests that we can do with people to try to develop a plan that will actually help you improve your ability to control your body through that full range of motion, often eventually even against some external resistance. So that's the difference between flexibility and mobility. Definitely related. One's not better or more important than the other one, but we typically will see people that we need to work more on their active control than their true just passive stretching. So hopefully that's helpful as you get into this new year and getting after some of your fitness and wellness goals.